Hey! So with back to school coming up, I got a request to do a sort of a study video of how to balance work and studying when you're in college or university. And I guess study tips and hacks for all things university. And I went to university for 6 or 7 years actually. So I think I have hacked the system, at least for me, and as a person with a disability trying to figure out what really I need to do that works for me and my lifestyle. So I'm gonna get into my 5 tips for studying, whether you're in college, university, or some other kind of post-secondary education. My first tip is to have a note taker or some way of taking notes, whether it's recording them, so that when you are taking several classes, you don't forget information. I know when I went to university, they had a couple of note takers in each class for every person with a disability. So you could get a couple people's versions of the class and their notes, and that takes a little bit of the pressure off of you so that you don't have to worry about like listening and writing down everything. You can just kind of listen, write down what you can, but if you miss something, it's not a huge deal. Now, in my experience, this is my experience only, the note taker is unreliable, and sometimes I couldn't read their writing, or you would get their notes so late in the semester that it wouldn't really help you. So by the end of my university career, I got to be quick enough, or I took the classes where the professor would often go on tangents that would have nothing to do with the class so that I could catch up on whatever he was talking about, because in the end, I ended up being the person that people would come to. Another thing you might be able to do if you are trying to figure out how to get your notes from people is to just ask the professor. They sometimes will give you their lecture notes, and those are better than anybody else's notes because they're the professor's notes. So talk to your professor, tell them what you need, and as long as you're nice about it and they are not mean, grumpy professors, they should be able to accommodate you. Secondly, I'd have a notebook or a pen or like a desktop screensaver that like inspires you and you like opening up when you go to class, just so that you kind of, you like being there even if you don't like being there. What I would often do is, depending on the amount of classes I was taking, I'd get, say, like a 3-divider notebook, and I would just do one class per divider. Although I stopped doing that because depending on how much notes you take in each class, sometimes you have to go into a second notebook. So I would just do separate notebooks for each class, and then any of the extra sheets they might give out or something, I would date them and put them in a folder so that I could use the date that was up on the paper and match that with the date that was in my notebook. I guess that's another tip, is date everything, or put lesson 1, lesson 2, some kind of identifying mark so that you're not just writing everything down and then not quite able to find exact exactly what you're looking for. So maybe like the lesson title, anything like that. I'm also a pen and paper like junkie. I have way too much. But it's my happy place. I really like new planners. I like all that type of thing. This is what I like to do. Number 3, I would only take a few classes at a time. Now for me, I did this purely out of necessity because I had to work at the same time, so I could only take like 2 or 3 classes and balance working pretty much full time. So I would work, depending on the semester, I would either work 3 days a week and go to school twice a week. Depending on the semester, I would either work 3 days a week and go to school twice a week, which is what my program was they kind of like Tuesday, Thursday classes. Or I would work Tuesday, Thursday, and I would go to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That is also when I would do all of my studying, and that's sort of my 4th tip, I guess, is that you want to figure out when studying would be the best for you and sort of block that out in your week. So for me, I knew that if I was going to be working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I work on a computer all the time doing a lot of typing, I don't want to be staring at a computer when I get home, so I would have to do all of my studying on Tuesdays and Thursdays before or after classes, and or on the weekend. That is just what worked for me. But only take as many classes as you can handle. Don't feel like you need to take the full-time allotment of courses, because in my school it was 5 classes was a full-time course load, and I did that one time in my last semester, and it was hectic, and I ended up working 2 jobs at the same time. It was just hectic. I'm so glad I only had to do it for the one semester, because I don't think I would have mentally survived otherwise. But just take maybe 2 or 3 classes and know that, yeah, it might take you longer, but you want to do well in those classes. And number 5, and this is, I think, one of the most important things, is make friends with people in your class, because then just as being friends with someone, you're going to talk about the class and the different concepts, so it's a lot easier for you two to like study together, or you 5 or whatever, and sort of do like an impromptu study group that doesn't necessarily say study group on it. Maybe it's like you're at a coffee shop and you happen to ask, hey, that concept of personalization of branding, this is how did you understand that? Because I thought that the professor explained that a little bit weird, and then you can learn from each other, and it doesn't take the form of a study group. But if you would like something more structured, a study group is always pretty easy to put together. You can just go on Facebook, or Twitter, find your different classmates, decide a time and place to get together and do your studying. And the other option is peer or paid tutoring, which I often did when I was struggling to grasp a subject, Or if I just needed some individual time to like craft a paper or something, I would go to a tutor and they would be able to help me out. Now, some of those are paid and some of those are free or low cost, so it all depends on you. So I hope this gave you an idea of what I have done through school and sparked some different ideas for you on how to succeed in high school, college, university, whatever grade or part of your life you're going into at this moment. Studying is unique to every person. I knew a girl who could only study while she had music blasting in her ears. I could never do that. I have to study in silence. So it all depends on you and what you are most comfortable with. That's it for me today, you guys. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment and share. And whatever you're going through today, guys, just know to keep pushing, and I will see you in the next one.